What does it really take to grow a business that lasts? Is it brilliant strategy, cutting edge innovation, or is it something more human, clarity, culture, and the systems that we build around us? In a world where leaders are constantly pulled into 100 directions, where teams are under pressure to deliver today and transform for tomorrow, leaders who thrive are the ones who are able to simplify the noise, inspire belief, and create engines that compound value long after the spotlight moves on. Hello, everyone. This is Rajiv Jayaraman, founder CEO of KNOLSKAPE, and I welcome all of you to another episode of the Learning Curve powered by KNOLSKAPE. My guest today is Pawan Kumar Marella. He has spent over 2 decades mastering this art at one of the most respected companies out there, Unilever. From building businesses in frontier markets with no playbook to leading global transformation programs at scale, he has lived the leadership paradox, balancing ruthlessness in prioritization with vulnerability as a superpower. Currently serving as Vice President, Strategic Growth Initiatives and Marketing Capabilities at Unilever, Pawan shapes how one of the world's most iconic companies builds brands, defines desirability, and develops future fit marketing talent. Beyond Unilever, Pawan is the founder of the Career Lab, a skilling initiative designed to help young professionals navigate the unspoken rules of work. His book, Dear Rookie, Don't Panic, captures these insights and is now used by organizations to strengthen onboarding and culture building at scale. Hi, Pawan. Welcome to the Learning Curve.
Hi Rajiv, thanks for having me here, and that's a very flattering, introduction. I need to remember it for my next job interview or something. Thank you.
All right. So before we move to the discussion at hand, I have a quick rapid fire section for you. Are you
Go
ready?
for it. Yeah.
All right. Question number one: the toughest market you've ever worked in and why?
Ooh, Ethiopia, because no one had heard of where it was on the map, and it was hard because I didn't know the language, I didn't know the culture, I didn't know the continent. So it was like being born all over again and learning everything in life.
All right. And you were a rookie back then, right?
I
Although
was
you
a
had
complete
experience
rookie
behind you,
back
the
then.
context made you a rookie all over again, and you learned through that experience,
Yeah.
and you were successful at that. Awesome. And culture or strategy, what's harder to get right?
Culture. It's strategy for breakfast, as the famous quote goes, right? Strategy every intelligent person can make, but culture, understanding people's emotions, feelings, how they behave, why they behave, that's
Yeah.
the toughest.
Agree. Your favorite brand campaign of all time doesn't have to be Unilever. Your favorite brand campaign.
I'll give you the current one. Why give you all time? I mean, the current Gap in Denim campaign with Cat's Eye. If people haven't seen that catchy campaign that's going viral globally, watch it, and you'll know why you will keep watching it on the loop all the time.
Awesome. And one thing rookies entering the workforce today should stop doing immediately.
Oh man, when people tell you to just put your head down and work and wait and be patient, yeah, don't put your head down, look up, don't be patient, be impatient, and go and ask for what you deserve and what you demand for it.
Super. Great. And one thing people are always surprised to learn about you.
Uh, that I failed in class 4 and my mother made me repeat it.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. So great. I think there are quite a few lessons on learning, right? Maybe facing failure and then relearning was part of your experience. And then, of course, facing new situations in life.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, there's so many things we can tell you, but one of the things that people don't know is once I was kidnapped by a distributor. So I have all kinds of experiences which they don't
Oh,
teach you
wow.
at MBA school. I once went to and we'll talk about, I once went to a sales interview and came back with a marketing job. So there's lots of random stuff that we can talk about that I've learned from failure, from unexpected things that happen if you just show up,
Yeah.
and the fact that you just need to be ready for very strange things to happen to you once in a while.
Yeah, and in all of that, I think there's a level of acceptance as well. You know, randomness can happen in life. How open are you, right? And as a rookie, that's one of the things. You are stepping into the unknown. You have no idea what the organization does or what the industry is like today. You're open to a lot of randomness,
Yeah.
and acceptance, I think, is a part of that learning process.
Acceptance and the importance of breathing. I never knew breathing was so important, and just like it's okay.
Okay. Are you a breath work person? Do you have that as part of your morning routine?
I have it deeply and I learned it the hard way. But it's like, in fact, not even morning routines. We almost, as my team, almost all our big meetings, we start with 1 minute of box breathing now.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
amazing. People talk of a lot of, I'm like, if we just come into a meeting because you're coming in with a lot of baggage, you don't know where you're coming running from. I'm like, let's just breathe. And I tell you, I didn't expect it. That smallest of things has brought in so much more focus, peace in meetings, less fighting. So yeah, I'm a big believer in proper breathing, as they say right now. I wish I knew it
Awesome.
earlier. I wish I knew it earlier.
Right. So I think we should set up another podcast to just talk about that because I take my breath work very seriously. Box breathing is my go-to, routine along with Wim Hof and alkaline breathing and all of that. And I've been thinking about incorporating this at work in a way. And I didn't want to force it on people. Some people are not ready, don't want to do it, whatever, right? But you are giving me some inspiration here.
Oh, go for it. I would say box breathing. I mean, you're much more into it than I do, but I'm saying it's almost like a minute of silence
Yeah.
to just stay calm before we run into
Alone.
anything. I've tried it just recently with my team. It's not something that it took me a long time, like you to say, and I realized it's not imposing. People just like it. They're like, oh, it's just a minute of peace,
Yeah.
before you
Yeah.
start asking me questions.
Oh, I love that. I love that. All right, so we will double click on your book, Pawan, in this podcast and go deep into it. But before that, I'd love to understand a little bit about your context, your journey, and so on. So I'm going to touch upon your experiences in Africa at Unilever and so on. So the first question I have is Unilever is often called a CEO factory, and nearly 400 Unilever alumni have become CEOs of other major companies. I didn't know this fact before. This includes PepsiCo, Philips, etc. Big brands. The company structure leadership development model is regarded as the gold standard, right? In FMCG,
Yeah.
it's literally a CEO factory. You spent over 2 decades at this organization across India, Africa, now at the global HQ. Looking back, what pivotal moments at Unilever shaped your leadership journey?
That's I think the and that's very well said. I think Unilever and HUL in particular is known, as a CEO factory, and a lot of it comes from right from the start. I think if I was to put it in, let's say, 3+1 things, the foundational one is really taking very normal, ordinary people and making them believe they can do extraordinary things. And you see
Wow.
that all around you when you join, and you go like, yeah, if they can do it, I can do it as well. It's not that they were superhuman or you selected some absolutely genius folks. I think they instill that belief. And then there are what I've seen is the 3 F's. It's failure, faith, and freedom. The first is you're put into situations when you join, whether you're joining as a junior sales manager or a mid-career recruit, the scope of your responsibilities straight away is very big and very impactful, and they allow you to fail in it, and it's okay. And I still remember when I joined the organization as an area sales manager, my first 6 months were horrendous. I did so badly. Coincidentally, I had got access, or I was put in the biggest region in South, and I was just not ready for it. I had all the intellectual knowledge, like, yeah, I know I've studied this and I've got good grades and it's all here, but
Yeah.
I was not ready for the emotional challenge or the emotional maturity that it takes when you grow up, right? You
Right.
in college, you're just answering questions, you're studying, it's all theoretical. You don't really meet any grown-ups who are questioning you. And I failed badly. And so much so that I thought they were going to throw me out because I'm like, I don't think anybody has failed so badly. The results were down. It's stark. They were fine. I came in and they went bad. So I'm like, how much more black and white can it get that it's this individual? And I still remember my then boss, Shekhar, who's in Google now, sat me down and had a very frank conversation saying it's not working out and here are the reasons and here's your challenge. It's not brains, it's your emotions and maturity. And I was moved from the biggest area to the tiniest area in the region. And they took the tiniest area and split it by half and gave me half of the tiniest area, saying, you need to go back to, it's almost like going back to kindergarten. It's
Yeah.
not that we are, demoting you, or it's not that we trust you, but you need to start down again, learn it in a low risk environment and come back. And that faith in me saying, it's okay that you failed. there are consequences, that is not, but we'll give you a second chance and take you up again. That happens consistently again and again. And I think that's what gives you confidence, saying if I fail, they've got my back. So you start taking bigger risks than holding back. The second is faith, where I think the organization instills and puts a lot of faith in the people, saying, I trust your judgment. Go and take that risk. I've got your back. You've got a great idea. Yeah, by God's grace, we're a big enough organization to absorb some things that don't work out, but you have
Right.
to try. We want to see you trying two, three, four new things, because if we didn't want to try new things, then why did we hire you? Like, why did you come into this team? So they put in a lot of faith, and that faith builds your confidence as well, saying, yeah, I can try, I can risk it. And the third is freedom. It's not rigid, it's not regimented. It's like, this is your scope of work, whether you're in sales, whether you're in marketing, whether you're in financing. This is your scope, this is what you deliver. Now go, and you have the complete freedom within a framework. And the framework's very basic, saying don't do anything illegal, don't do anything wrong, don't break the integrity, and treat people with respect. And within that, you get extreme freedom to say, go and show us what you and the team are capable of. So that really energizes you. It's like someone's lifting you up versus
Right.
pulling you down, or almost wrapping you on your knuckles. So that, I think, is, and that's my personal view. After spending 2 decades, is what this company actually brings. Yeah.
Awesome. And Pawan, at that point in time as a rookie, did you panic?
Oh, good God, I panicked. I panicked for 10 years. People said, did you panic in that moment when you're born? I panicked in that moment, but I've been panicking, all throughout. I've just been faking it, and I've realized many people fake it, right? I panic deeply because most of us, when we get into a good company, a good organized, a good role, it's because you've done well all through your life,
Right.
right? You've got good grades in school. You were put up in school as, oh, you're such a good, student. You went to a university. Your successes led you into
Yeah.
the job you did, right? And even the job interview, you maybe competed with hundreds of people, and you were like, oh man, you're the chosen, person. So you come. I've seen that you come with a natural chip on your shoulder, even if you're humble. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
look, I'm so good, right? And then suddenly you're put into the hot water. You're like, oh my God, am I so bad? I was just good yesterday when they congratulated me and gave me an offer letter. And today they're like, oh, this is not working out. And that gap of being put on a pedestal and then failing for the first time, that gap is so huge that I really panicked. I panicked. I struggled. I didn't know what to do. I cried. I tell people a lot. I cried and cried and cried, which somewhere in our culture you don't cry, but I'm like, man, I cried. And then you start digging yourself out of that hole, right?
Yeah.
Saying, I don't want to be here. And sometimes it's nice when somebody gives you a hand and pulls you up, like if you have a good boss, but that's
Yeah.
not guaranteed. And sometimes you're like, oh, there is something here. There are instruments here, and I can use to make a ladder and climb out of it, and you find your way out. But yeah, I did panic. I did panic.
Okay, so seems like the book came out of a lot of your personal experiences, right? As a rookie, what you went through and how you came out of that situation. Seems like Shaker played a big role, having the good luck or good fortune of having a great manager who will sit you down and give you the path ahead. And I often wonder if you started by saying, give the rookie a big canvas, right, and see and give them the freedom. And then when it doesn't work out, the half of the smallest unit that you were speaking about, that takes a little bit of a mindset shift, so that you don't look at it like a demotion. You're seeing this as part of your growing up or your learning journey. And one thing that we all know from fitness is there is something about progressive overload. Start with the smallest unit and then start building from there. So I wonder if there's a good answer here. Is it all about giving the person a blank canvas and say go play, or should this be the smallest unit and you discipline people on that progressive overload? Any reflections on that as you look back?
Oh, yeah, I think it's both, and I think different organizations and different teams and leaders will take it differently. I think it's context based as well,
Yeah.
depending on the seriousness of what you're handling. I'm saying, I guess if you're a doctor and it's a life and death situation that you're going to be managing, you're
Yeah.
probably much better off that you're learning your ropes in less risky or less dangerous situations and moving up.
Yeah.
But if the context is such that you can absorb when things don't work, I have seen that when you stretch people, they do better, because my consistent experience has been people are much better than they think they are. again and again and again. I've seen it in myself, and
Yeah.
I've seen it when I put it. Even the person when they said this is my limit, this is their limit. It's the same
Yeah.
thing on physical transformation and mental transformation. So I have seen that you push it, give them a blank canvas, but give them a framework saying, this is the boundary,
Yeah.
and encourage them, and you see the magic. It's almost like people love autonomy, people love mastery, people
Yeah.
love a sense of I own this, and a sense of purpose,
Yeah.
but you do have to guide them as well. But if you keep them too limited,
Yeah.
then you never, this is my personal view, you don't explore what they're really capable of, right? You don't
Yeah.
explore what they're capable of.
Awesome. And seems like Unilever has nailed the whole idea of firstly having a framework like the three Fs, right? And building an ecosystem around it so that people get that help. My next question is around that. Jim Collins has this flywheel effect that he talks about in Good to Great.
Yeah,
And he highlights how systems, produce a compounding value, right?
yep,
And this is again a concept of progressive overload in a way. Small things add up to create a bigger impact over time,
yep,
right? Like Unilever's sustainability commitment to brand growth. I think that's a big one in terms of
yeah.
sustainability and commitment. And these deliver outsized long-term returns over a period of time. And you also talk about clarity, culture, and compounding systems as your edge, right? So I
Yep.
think those are the three C's. I think you seem to have a thing for frameworks, the three C's and the three F's and so on. Could you unpack each one of these and share anecdotes of how they have influenced business growth in your experience?
I think, and I was smiling when you mentioned Jim Collins, because if I go back to my rookie days and the sales story I was telling you, the book that got me out of the hole was Good to Great. I don't
Ah,
know
I
how
see.
I came across it, but someone just gave it to me, and I read that book, and somehow everything that I wanted to do seemed to make sense. I'm like, this guy was born just to write this book for me. It's like, here's your personal guide,
Yeah,
servant leadership and finding what you're really good at as a team. There was a whole chapter, I think, very early on in the book about first who, then what. Like it depends. First, find the right people, and man, I'm like, I have no choice. I'm going to use the framework of this book to determine my, whatever regional strategy, and it worked. So I'm like, if there was one book I ever endorse and I recommend to everybody, still after 20 years, it's
yeah,
Good to Great, right? And to your point on the clarity, culture, and compounding, I think clarity is extremely important, because I've seen at work, everything at work is personal, and everything at work, at least in most corporate jobs, you work in teams. Right?
yeah,
There are jobs which are individual, but by and large, most jobs tend to be where you're working with people with different backgrounds, different thoughts, different beliefs, and different approaches to the same problem. I
yeah,
think, oh, we have to grow our business by 5%. The 10 people in the team will have 10 or 20 views on how to do that, and they're all
right.
right. So clarity to me is the ability of the leader or the team to come together to saying we're all right in some degree or form, but we have to choose one. So the
Yeah,
clarity actually comes from the ability of making that choice and saying, let's agree to focus on these few things because of ABCD. And I saw that firsthand in Ethiopia. When I went there, it was I mean, I had to go and set up the business along with a few other very adventurous colleagues of mine, and we were given very little money. It's almost like a startup, right?
yeah,
And we could have launched any Unilever brand or category, right? But we had to choose. Someone says, "Oh, launch a laundry powder." Someone says, "Launch a toothpaste." Someone says, let's launch a soap." But that clarity of saying, "Let's jointly decide one with some logic." So we decided to launch soap because it was much needed. Hand washing was important. We would make decent amount of money on it, but that clarity on making that choices helps you come together and go forward. Otherwise, you're
right.
just debating, right? So I
Yeah,
think what's the framework? Second, for me, on culture, I think culture to me is very simple. If I go back to Jim Collins' book, my learning, and I saw it. In fact, I saw it in some other podcast where someone else said this, and it was brilliant. Is that culture is basically how you hire, fire, and promote people,
yeah,
right? If you take out all the jargon, like that is so true, right? Because every time the company hires someone, let's say as a boss or your team member, you're instantly evaluating, right? Like, why did they hire that person to come in? Or a person was let go, or a person was promoted. Let's take very example. We're all in a team, and person A was promoted. Instantly, everybody starts judging the company based on that person, right? Oh, that person was promoted. So these are the values of the company. That's
right.
why promoted him or her. And I think to me, it's those signals that you give out individually and as a team. That's truly about culture. I saw it consistently. I'll give you another example. The reason I went to Ethiopia, when I applied for that job, right? So we have an internal job portal and you see it. And I didn't see this, but my boss saw this and said, do you want to, try this? And I'm like, Ethiopia? I think if I tell my relatives, they'll tell me it's like, did you do something wrong and you're getting punished and you're going to Africa? I'm like, there's this typical Indian stereotype, right? कि कुछ तो गड़बड़ किया होगा, जाके
Yeah.
बॉस को जाके sorry बोल दो. I'm like, no, but I went for it, and it was so bizarre. Normally you do interviews. My then boss was based in Dubai, and I was based in Kolkata. So I'm like, yeah, let's get on a call. He's like, no, why call? This is such an important thing. Why don't you? I'll fly you down to Dubai. I'm
Okay.
like, which person flies you down to Dubai for a job interview when you've not even got the job? And he didn't even know me, right? So I didn't know him, he didn't know me. So I'm like, it's not as if
Right.
you know me. And then he flies me to Dubai. I'm like, wow, that's, so you go like, tick, oh, maybe I want to work for this person. There's something nice. I go to the interview and he's interviewing me for the job of a sales head for this new entity we want to create. And middle of the interview, he says, hey, your answers are making me intrigued. And I think you'll be better off for the marketing job. We had posted for it. We didn't feel you were right because you're doing a sales job right now. But my colleague next room is interviewing marketing candidates.
Okay.
And do you want to be interviewed for a marketing job? And I was desperate for a marketing job. I was not getting one. So I was applying for a sales job saying, at least I'll take a promotion in sales. But I go back, I decide to get interviewed. I say, okay, I'll take a deep breath. I'll remember all the stuff I read on marketing and go back. I say yes. I get interviewed and they give me the job. And I'm like, I need to work in this team because the boss is just changing things real time without any hang-ups. And I'd love to work for a guy who says, I'll fly you down, or this seems better for you.
Yeah.
And why don't I'll hire you as sales because you're great, but I think you'll do better, and letting me go after that
Yeah.
to his colleague. I'm like, that's the culture, and that's culture. And I'm so glad for 3 years I had a blast because when you work with people like that and they hire like that or they promote like that, so it's the signals, right? And the third on compounding, I think, man, I think it's you said it right. When you do it again and again, that progressive overload comes and you improve. But my thing on compounding has been people talk about compounding and hard work. I've learned the hard way that what really compounds is relationships, right?
Right.
We talk about hard work compounding because obviously you're getting better. We talk of monetary compounding, saying I'll put money in a SIP and then over the years it'll grow. But for the longest time, I ignored relationships because I felt, what is there? I just wasn't in me. I'm like, yeah, I'm in this job, I'm in this role. And Unilever being Unilever, you're like, yeah, you're in this role for a couple of years and then you'll move, right? You're a
Yep.
founder CEO, so this is your baby and you're growing it. But in our case, as employees, the organization is like, yeah, no, you're not going to be here forever. You are going to move. So because you're attuned to say that I'm going to move, and you're not getting married to that team and you're going to be there for 20 years, you're like, yeah, so I'll have a good time with you. I'm working with you. I'll behave well. We'll go out for a drink, but I'm not building any bonds because I'm going, right?
Yep.
So why should I build any bonds? And that came back to bite me in a long way because the corporate world, first of all, is very small, right?
Yep.
The same person you met 20 years back is you're going to meet that person 20 years
Right.
later, in some role. Number two, when you need help, it's these people who work with you come back to help you, right? So I'm
Yep.
looking for a job somewhere. This person in that company will say, of course I know you, and I'm going to forward. It's one thing to say, boss, can you just forward my CV? Another one to say, wow, hey man, how are you doing? It's so
Yep.
nice, and I'm going to go all out to help you. So people, your network is your net worth,
Yep.
and that relationship compounding is what I've learned, right? And I'll give you a great example. I think when I wrote my book, right, when I went and asked people for endorsements to write it, every single person who wrote and said yes, when I look back at the people who said yes and no, are the people I built a relationship with and somehow I kept in touch, or they had something, or they were genuinely people I didn't know, but they were like, I want to build a relationship with and help you. And the people who were lukewarm, it was not them. I realized it was me who hadn't built a relationship, and they're like, Acha, now you need something, you know.
Yep.
So you're coming to me, Acha, you've written a book and I've become a big person and you want something from me, and they can see through that, right? And I could also see it. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't do it. and I'm being very matlabi, as they say, saying, boss, now you've become a big person, putting
Yeah.
your name in my book will help. And you feel bad as well. So to me, that compounding is, yes, compound hard work, compound, money, but if you compound your relationships,
Yeah.
it works. And you cannot, just like SIPs, you cannot start now and rebuild a relationship, that you missed 20 years back. So it's also that thing. So that's it. That's my take on clarity, culture, and compounding.
Awesome. I love that answer. So again, goes back to the who before what, right? Compounding
Exactly.
relationships is exactly that. Investing in people, other people's growth, other people's success, and in a way, it comes back to you. Is essentially the point here. I love that response. And on vulnerability, in all of this, there is, I think, the role of a leader, the role of emotional maturity. You started with
Yeah.
that, right? It's not just the intellectual capability, but also the emotional maturity. One of the Deloitte studies that we came across showed that leaders who show vulnerability, right, increase employee trust by 67%. Especially in hybrid and global teams, it's becoming harder
Yeah.
to get the balance right in terms of your transactions and job to be done and the relationship part. Their vulnerability seems to play a pretty big role. Can you share a moment where leading with vulnerability changed the outcome for you or the team?
I think there's so many, almost all of them. And but I loved what you brought up. I think we're brought up on a staple of the hero saves the world,
Yeah.
culture saying, oh my God, if and it's particularly true as you go up the ladder and you say, oh, this person, this gentleman or lady is now the boss, and they're going to bring all the answers. But in reality, you have no answers because you are coming in as new as them, or it's a different role and the challenges are different. And um, what I've found is being honest with people really helps. And I'll give you a couple of examples. When I moved from Ethiopia to Kenya, I moved from a one country role to suddenly handling five countries in a beauty category that I hadn't really got experience in. So again, I didn't know the categories I was trying to brand and market. I didn't know the countries and the culture and the people, and I didn't know the business. But people came in and said, "Yeah, my boss was like, yeah, your job is to double the business in 3 years, and get going because doubling in 3 years means you have to grow the business by 15 to 20%, in the first year." I'm like, "Oh, okay," because it sounds nice when you say double in 3 years, then you put on a PPT, but it's like that's 15% in a year, and that means this month's number or the target is this. I'm like, "Oh shit!" And I went in, and this was a good 10, 12, 13 years after I started working. So I was no longer a young person. Um, but still something didn't work, and I was like, yep, I'll get it. I did all my Excel sheets, and this is the target. I went to the team and said, guys, you're smart, let's do this. Here's everyone's target. Here's the logic, here's what we'll do. And it bombed. It bombed because I hadn't built a relationship with the people as yet. I hadn't tried to understand what was happening. I was trying to impose my way of thinking, saying this is wrong, this is right, here's how we'll do it. And it tanked, and it took, and I'm very grateful to the team and the culture there in Kenya, because the Kenyan culture was very direct as well for me. So they were like, if we don't like you, we will tell you, which was very refreshing. In some cultures, it doesn't happen because the respect
Yep.
for the hierarchy, but
Yep.
this, by God's blessing or good luck, this failure happened in a culture where people were willing to tell you on your face. So my team took me out on, instead of me taking them out on outbound or a team get together. One fine day, I get an invite saying, "Boss, we've all got together and we're going to do a 1 day offsite." I'm like, "You are planning an offsite?" And I'm like, "Oh yes." So they all took me to an offside and they said, "Boss, let's do a circle, let's sit down." They put me in the center of the circle and they said, "Boss, we have to give you some feedback." I'm like, I know what's happening here. So I was put down, made to sit down, and everybody collectively gave me feedback. And it was a very humbling moment, right? When
Yep.
people say, "Boss, this is not working, the way you are telling us won't work. And we don't know you and you don't know us. So what do we do? It's up to you." And that was a moment of vulnerability for me, because I had two options. I could say, no, you guys are just trying to shirk, or accept it, saying, they're right and I'm not in the right here. and I chose the right path. Thankfully, my brain worked and said, you're right. This is not working, right? And my ego is taking over, and not my humility. And that acceptance and saying, you guys are right. I'm not. I want to change, and help me change. I don't know what to do. There's a flood of good advice. Things worked out, and we did very, very well. But you have to, as a leader, be okay, right? And yeah, you are. Sometimes you goof up, and you have to say. I think the magic words are "I don't know." If you
Yeah.
can say those three words with confidence and humility, confidence in the fact that it's I don't know yet. It's not
Yeah.
that I don't know today. I don't know yet. I may not be able to find the answer all by myself, but together, we can find out. And that's where on this topic of vulnerability, I came across a book called The Wisdom of Crowds. It's a
Yeah.
brilliant book. And the concept of Ubuntu, which is a South African culture, but quite prevalent in Africa. I'm like, that's the answer. It's us sitting together in a circle, finding the answers is what will get us forward. And then everybody else opens up as well, right? They open up saying, here's my challenge, right? This is why I'm worried. I need this job desperately, so I'm doing so much and it's not working out. Or something, I want this promotion. Everybody has a reason or why they believe that that's the right path, and why. And if you can get and peel out and get there, but yeah, it does require you taking off, your armor or shield, and almost exposing yourself to say this is the real me. And that's not easy, because we're taught in corporate worlds to put this mask on.
Yeah.
So you have to have the courage to take it off.
Awesome. There's so much richness in that answer. You're on the one hand talking about authenticity in leadership, right? Don't put mask, be vulnerable. Expose your fears and your anxieties to the team, and maybe they'll come back with an answer that you're looking for. I see an element of growth mindedness also here, right? So you may not have all the answers, and I love the way you said it. I think. A leader's role today is not to back in the day we were expected to have all the answers. People came to us with questions. Now it's okay to say I don't know, but I love the way you phrased it, I don't know yet, right? Which
Yeah.
is it's just a question of learning it, right? So I love the growth mindedness there. So what you gave us right now is so rich in context, so rich in values, literally, right? Some unlearning to be done with respect to traditional forms of leadership, and we need to embrace few other values to be
Yeah.
successful in today's world. I thoroughly enjoyed that answer.
No, it's true, right? But yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, and I want to switch gears right now to your other venture, so to speak, right? The Career Lab. Right, so you founded the Career Lab and you've recently authored. The book came out on March 2nd, I believe, this year.
Yeah.
Dear Rookie, Don't Panic. Firstly, what inspired you to start the Career Lab, and what led you to write this book, and which seems to be about the unspoken rules of work?
Yeah, I think, well, the honest answer is I wrote and I write for myself,
Yeah,
right? That's there's no more lofty answers of there, because as I've stumbled my way through life, particularly work life, whatever I jot down and I write, I used to write in all kinds of places, in my phone, on a blog, on LinkedIn. But in hindsight, they were just tips for me not to forget,
yeah,
right? Because much as I try, even though I knew it and I make that mistake, I find myself making that mistake again, right? Then I'm like, I need to put it down. So I write for myself. That's why I write the way I write. And I've been writing for a long time, and then suddenly, I think it's divine intervention, right? So I used to write all kinds of things, all kinds of places. It's happening. I was never intending to write or publish anything, and then one day, 2000, 2023, my boss quit. Right, my boss quit, and she moved on to better things, and the organization took a couple of months to replace my boss, right? And suddenly, and I'm like, and this was in summer, where normally workloads tends to be lower, and like suddenly I was blessed with a bandwidth which I didn't have before. I'm like, kuch to karna hai. And then suddenly the idea came saying, whatever, I just, put down all my thoughts and put it together. So I started writing it and putting in a book. And then I started testing it with a few youngsters in my company, in people I knew. And the reception was fabulous because they're like, yeah, nobody tells us these things.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, of course you must be taught. They're like, yeah, when we get bashed up and we go to the pub in the evening, or when we go to the chai tapri down, that's when the seniors laugh and tell you, yeah, this was obviously going to happen. And here's the gyan, as they say,
Yeah.
which the HR folks won't tell you in the onboarding. And I'm like, wow, there is something in it. So that's what got into the book, and how it got converted into a full book that's got out right now.
Yeah.
And the career lab is something that I'm just starting. To be fair, it's a manifestation of that, saying if I can go and meet individuals and do sessions and do podcasts and talk about my experiences to see if it helps, it might be good, because when people hear it from the horse's mouth, my endeavor is to hope that they feel that they're not alone when they're
Yeah.
lost in their room, and they feel that everybody else is confident, and I'm like, no, no, don't worry. They're all faking it, and I'm telling you after 20 years that it's okay. And I find that when I'm talking to people or engaging with youngsters in particular, I'm able to bring that sense of relief and calmness, saying it's okay, and it's going to be okay. Just hang in there. And that's how the genesis came. But yeah, originally it was for me, and now by God's grace, it's going out to everybody else as well.
Awesome. And I want to pick up on this African thread that you have, right? So you referenced Ubuntu. And I sense that in your way outlook towards life and work, there seems to be a pattern that I'm sensing. It's the first time we are connecting and having a dialogue like this, but I sense that you believe in the power of the collective, like the Ubuntu concept, right? And the
Yeah.
fact that you wish to be there for others when they need help. Can you talk about maybe some part of that African experience that you've had that shaped your outlook and philosophy towards life?
I think it shaped me a lot. I mean, my defining moments were all in Africa. I spent 8 years there. And it's not to say you can't have defining moments anywhere else. It just happened to me there. And I think it happened because you move from a place and culture which you're comfortable in. So I grew up in one place, I worked in the same country. And suddenly, when you're put in a completely different place with a different reality and a different outlook to life, you see things very starkly. And you see things very differently. I saw people having much less than what we have in India and being much happier, because I saw people trying to make the best of what they have together, because they realize the power of the collective, saying if we don't do this together, we're not going to get better, as a country, as a culture. uh, and I saw the realization. One of my favorite realizations was a saying in Swahili, which says, he who wants everything gets nothing. That's if you want 100 on 100, you'll get zero. You'll always get 70 on 100. Just choose which 70 you want.
Yeah.
And that was for me a big eye opener in saying, life is all about choices. Choices have consequences, is what one of my bosses in Africa, Justin, taught me. Saying you choose, but every choice has a consequence. You
Yeah.
want this promotion, it will come with this issue. You want to go there, that job will come with this. So we are not brought up to analyze the consequences. And that's what Africa taught me, that we can do things together, Ubuntu, that you need to know that you can't get everything in life. So make your choices wisely, and know that your choices, have consequences, and be okay with that. I think that. And then the other thing I learned was, there is, in India at least, when most of us were brought up in the middle class ethos, it was like education and hard work is the way out to a better life. So you give it everything at the cost of sacrificing everything else. You're just, there.
Right.
And there, in at least in East Africa, I realized there's a lot more to life than just work.
Yeah.
Right? 3 years in Ethiopia, by the way, I spent without TV and without social media. It was a 3 year detox, for me. And all the time was spent sitting either talking to people. So that's the time me and my wife, I really told my wife, Ruchi, that's when I really knew who I got married to. I'm like, oh, you're the person I really got married to, because, now we are sitting and talking to each other and having a coffee and, enjoying a pastry at the coffee shop. So you learn that there's more to life than just work, and there are so many more aspects that you can use to define what you call a good life. And that's what I learned there.
Awesome. I love that. And I also want to focus on the word rookie, right? So it seems to suggest that this may be for young professionals who are getting into the workplace and all of that. But actually thinking about it, pretty much everyone today is operating like a rookie in the context of AI, in
Yeah.
the context of digital, and even your life journey, right? Where let's say 13 years into it, suddenly you put up your hand for a completely new geography, completely new set of products that you had no background to, right? So you chose to become a rookie, and there are people that I know who prefer the rookiness. I want to have
Yeah.
a beginner's mindset all the time, right? That's what excites me. I know a lot of people who operate like that versus people who are stability seeking, who want to be in one domain, go into one domain, go deep, right? So can you speak to that aspect of the word rookie? What does that actually mean in today's context?
I think it's my personal view, and I think the what I sensed is every person needs a rookie mindset. To your point, and I'll give an analogy which is increasingly dawning on me. I think whether you're a generalist, doing new things, you could be a serial startup founder, for example, looking at different opportunities, or you're like you're saying you're a deep domain specialist. For both cases, I think the rules of the game are changing constantly, either because of technology or because of the consumer landscape or the economy's economic landscape that's changing. And the example I give is, my elder son learns the violin. um, and I observe when I observe his classes with his teacher, I realize violin teaching is the same. It's the same instrument. People, in fact, crave for instruments that are 20, 50, 100 years old. So it's like, don't change it. I want the old one. You're still learning famous pieces from composers who died 200 or 300 years back, a Mozart or a Beethoven, if you're, and it's taught the same way, and you're supposed to play it the same way, and you are judged on whether you played that 300-year-old piece on a 100-year-old violin the way that person thought about it, right? In
Yeah,
which case, fine, you don't need a rookie mindset and you go like, I need deep practice and I'm going to go deep. But everything else outside of learning a violin, right, or learning anything which has a fixed, set of rules, right? Swimming. In corporate life, the rules are changing. So I'm like, yeah, it's unlike violin where the rookie became the master and then teaches the rookie saying, now I'll teach you, guru shisha, now main aapko bataunga, what because I went through it and I
right,
will impart. Now I'll give, if you go to a, let's say, a marketing job. I grew up in a world where TV was dominant, so I learned everything about TV advertising, and I can tell you, I can write a book on it if you ask me. But now the rookie goes like, but boss, no one is watching TV. What will I do with your book on TV advertising? So what I can teach the rookie is like, boss, game has changed, rules have changed. It's like, yeah,
right.
I'll tell you the rules of Test cricket, and the boss is like, no, we're playing IPL. It's 20 overs. I'm like, oh, so if you don't have a rookie mindset, right? How are you going to learn? Because the rules have changed in that game. How it's played is changed. Different shots are being played. So you need a rookie mindset, particularly as a leader.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I think you're doomed. That's my interpretation. And you have to go and say, let your ego out and say, I'm going to learn. Right. So the
yeah,
best leaders I know that I work with right now go big on reverse mentoring. Right. They go like, well, I am not teaching you, you are teaching me. And
right,
I'll teach you other things, but please teach me because I don't know. They go out and roll up their sleeves and say, I'm an intern for today, and I'm going to sit and practice. You used AI. All my top bosses in the company here and people I've seen, they're not learning AI through a presentation. They're like, give me the license, give me the access to the tool, and I'm going to block 1 hour in my calendar every day, and I'm
yeah,
going to go and do. Right, I'm going
yeah,
to go and do it. I'm not going to because then I can again master it. Right,
right,
and you have the ability because you've become a leader today. That means you have the job. So I think you're a rookie is a mindset, if I think of it.
yeah,
And by God, if there was any era that's required, it's like now. So I'm like, and by the way, I have realized it's so much more fun. It's so boring when you're like, I know everything and I'll tell you. I'm like, what is that? It's like you're just giving, and
right,
it's like a battery which was 100% which you're draining, right? I'll give.
yeah,
But I'm like, if you think of it reverse, rookie's like, oh, I'm at zero and I'm recharging myself back to 100. It's so much more fun because when you're 100,
yes.
you're like, yeah, right? So it's so much more fun as well being a rookie.
Yeah, I love that. And somewhere you're also saying that ego comes in the way, right? One of the things that needs to be done to get that rookie mindset is to firstly say, I don't know or I don't know yet, right? And put yourself in the learning track. For that you need to
Yeah,
set aside, and that's perhaps difficult as a leader, because again goes back to the vulnerability thing that we were talking about. Unless you have that superpower, you cannot become a rookie. You want to, again, facade, the thing that you spoke about, you put up a facade and say, I know everything, I'm a leader, I've been there, done that, right? But it's coming at the cost of your ability to learn something completely new.
it's exactly that, and I've realized in companies, for whatever it's worth, people try to put on that facade because you think that people are expecting you to be confident and
Yeah,
know, and no one is telling each other that it's okay not to know. And in reality, like what I've seen is teams respect you when you roll up your sleeves and learn, because then they're like, oh, it's okay for me also to say I don't know and roll up my sleeves and start learning. So you're actually, the real leadership you're showing is leading by example
yeah.
and inspiring your team. And then they go like, oh, if he or she can do it, of course I can do it. And it's okay to stand up and say, I didn't understand, I don't know, and I'm going to learn with you. So maybe that is the leadership, mantra, where you're saying, yeah, you are leading, but you're not leading by teaching, you're leading by studying or leading by doing or leading by learning.
Right. Awesome. And I believe the book has three major segments, right, Pawan? So
Yeah.
you've got you versus you, you and others, and the future you. Very quickly for our audience, can you summarize these three sections of the book?
I mean, so the you versus you is the realization that your real game is your inner game, that you're
Yeah.
competing with yourself to get better. And how do you do that? Because it's in your control. And if you focus on that first, you'll get better. You and others is a lot, because most of the jobs we do today work is involving working with others. So if you learning those dynamics of building trust, building that understanding of how to work with people will help you move forward, because it's not like playing as I say in the book, it's not like playing a tennis singles match, it's like playing a football match, so you might as well know how to win as a team. And the future you is, where do you see yourself going, and how do you give back to the world that has given so much to you? So how do you give back to the rookies, how do you keep learning, and how do you find your purpose and fulfillment in life, at least from this midpoint of life that I see. I don't know if I'll change my view, but it's a midpoint view on what I see.
I love that. And at Northscape, we often think about creating a balance between, right, we think in terms of the three W's of future of work, namely the worker, and the workplace. Today,
Yeah.
work is getting futurized, right? I don't think any meeting today gets done without OpenAI or ChatGPT getting mentioned. Then you've got the worker, all of us need personalization. We've got our own things right after the pandemic. Things have evolved and we crave for personalization in everything we do. And then the workplace, we speak about humanizing the workplace, right? So
Yeah.
leading with purpose, empathy, mental health, well-being, all of these are becoming important topics. So how do we create a workplace that has a good balance between all the three? To us, it seems like the perfect recipe for becoming future ready. Now, I know you think a lot about future fit capabilities and talent, and especially in branding and marketing, perhaps. What does that translate to? This balance, where you, on the one hand, speak about AI in marketing, right? And at the same time, brands need a story. They need to communicate human values and a sense of purpose. So, what will be your guidance for new folks who are getting into the industry? How do they get this balance right?
I maybe it's three things for me. I think the first is leading with the heart. Whether you're a rookie or whether you're a leader, because uh, truly everything at work is personal. Everything that you're trying to sell as a brand manager or a marketing person, you're trying to go after the emotions and feelings of people. So if you tap in a lot more to your heart and lead with the heart and work with your heart, focus on emotions, feelings, I think you will do very, very well. Right? But that's one thing even AI can't do. AI can't read my feelings and emotions, and AI is not a conscious being. So I would say lead with the heart. The second thing I would say is embrace the changes that are coming. Today for us, for you and me, it's AI. Tomorrow something else will come.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just accept it, acknowledge it, and embrace it. It's something that my boss taught me about, appraisals and targets. Is like, don't discuss targets and appraisals. Whatever comes, just embrace it because that is it. So I've learned the same thing with work, saying if you Don't fight it, but accept it, acknowledge it, embrace it, and work with it. Whatever that changes, if it's AI, work with it so that you get faster. So don't be resistant to it. Um, and the third thing for me is when you're getting in is saying it's what we started the call with is like just breathe and know it's going to be okay. That everybody is in the same boat. Nobody knows more than you. So don't be scared when people are putting on a more confident front, whether as a team, whether as a brand, whether as a person. It's actually everybody's trying to figure it out. So stay calm, take a deep breath, know that's going to be okay, and just keep walking forward, and it will be okay.
Awesome. I love that. And so this is perhaps a last question I have, Pawan. What's that one new thing you've learned personally or tried in the last year, apart from, of course, publishing a book?
Oh, I would love to say podcast because I've not, I've not done before. I think the one new thing for me, if I link it to the book, is marketing the book because, and I would say marketing the book has turned out to be marketing myself. So much as I am a brand marketer all my life and I've marketed brands, it is a very awkward thing when you have to go back and sell yourself and market yourself. So so the new thing is marketing, but the real new thing is managing my awkwardness and being honest and being comfortable in almost like selling myself. It was never in me. So that's the one new thing. And the second new thing, is working with my kids. They're growing up right now, so spending a lot more time with them intentionally and not telling them what to do, but actually listening to their point of view. So I'm like, oh, you are actually you have a you have good thoughts, and you can. I don't need to tell you like a kid, but being okay to say that people who are significantly younger than me can actually help me and advise me on stuff is other new thing I've tried. So that's it. There you go. Two new things.
Awesome. Great. Pawan, thank you so much for this lovely chat. I've learned so much just talking to you over almost an hour now. So I'm going to quickly summarize some keywords. I've learned the importance of Ubuntu. I've learned the importance of authenticity, vulnerability, the three F's that you spoke about from a culture standpoint, how critical that is for rookies to sort of find their confidence, right? And they go on to
Yeah.
become high achieving individuals. The three C's, especially the compounding part, I'm taking away the importance of investing in relationships, right? And seeing that compound over a period of time, and so many, many more insights. So, thank you so much for this enriching conversation. I wish you all the best with the book. And don't worry about the awkwardness. I didn't feel anything at all in the conversation. If anything, you were authentic. You were a lot of fun to interact with. I really enjoyed this conversation. So thank you for this time. And thanks to all our viewers and listeners for tuning in to the Learning Curve. We shall be back in the next episode with another great personality and insights on making organizations, leaders, and the workplace ready for the future. Until next time, take care and goodbye.